everyone. So as always, the first thing I'm doing is priming the eye area for the shadows that are to come. I'm adding a few swipes of my Urban Decay primer potion and then I'm buffing it into the skin just to ensure that the colour of the shadows really pop today and to make sure that they last for as long as possible. Now I'm taking a felt tip liner pen and using this to create the outline on my wing. I always do this, as most of you know, because it prevents me from potentially messing up later on. You don't want to have your shadow perfect, and when you're adding the finishing touches of your wing, you mess up. This way later on, all you have to do is fill in the outline that you created earlier. So you all wanted more videos featuring the Morphe X Jeffree Star palette, and that's what I'm doing today. Like my previous look with the palette, I decided to use some colour again today, and don't worry, there will be a neutral look too. The first shade I'm taking is called Wake and Bake, and it's a yellowy limey green shade. I'm placing my brush directly down on the tail of the wing, and I'm using that as a guide, and I'm blending my shadow in from there. I'm just using a little back and forward wriggling motions to add the colour on there, and I'm gradually making my way across the crease. Once I've that colour into the crease, I'm moving my brush up a bit higher and using circular motions to buff and blend the shadow out. Next then I'm taking Nate, which is a really vibrant matte green. I'm adding this into the crease too, just keeping it a little deeper in the crease, and I'm adding a couple of layers of this shadow to build up the intensity. Then I'm going back in with Wake and Bake, and I'm just adding this over the top of the Nate shade, just to make sure that it still pops, and layering one on top of the other will help them fade a bit better into one another. Then I'm taking Pink Fleet, and just a memo again, the pink shadows do stain, but I'm using a fluffy blending brush to pat this shadow onto the outer third of the eyelid, and I'm sweeping across the centre so you have a nice fade of pink across the lid. And then I'm just adding another layer of pink to build up the intensity, and I'm also blending it slightly into the crease. Doing this gives a deep appearance to that area, and it adds some more depth, which is always good. It actually then looks like we've added a deep dark green when we haven't. Then I'm taking Mogul and I'm tapping this shadow down on the very outer third of the lid so we have a nice fade from a deep purpley pink to that light bubblegum pink. I'm a sucker now for a nice clean cut lid space, so I'm dotting some concealer on that blank space and I'm cleaning it up with a flat C-shaped brush. I'm tapping the concealer up towards the crease and using the curved edge of the brush to cut the crease, if you will, and I'm letting the shape of the brush do the work for me. So I've started with a small amount of concealer and now I'm going to dot a little bit more, and it's just much easier to add little by little than it is to add a big lump and then try to blend it out from there. Once again though, I'm tapping the concealer down onto the inner half of the lid using the shape of the brush to give me a nice sharp crease line, and adding a little more concealer makes that lid space look wider and brighter and therefore pops more. Then I'm using my finger while that concealer is still tacky and I'm dabbing over where the pink meets the concealer just to blend those two together. Then I'm taking the shadow Lynn and I'm using a small dense brush. This is actually a smudger brush, but because it's so densely packed, it works great for packing shadow onto the lid. And I'm using the side of the brush to really lay that creamy shade down on top of the concealer. And once again, I'm tapping over the shadow with the pink. And I'm going back in with my blending brush now, and I'm using the excess shadow on that, sweeping across the lid towards the cream shadow to fade the pink and the cream together. Again, layering one over the other is really going to help them blend seamlessly into one another. As you can see, I have a nice bit of darkness in the crease from where we blended the pink along the edge of the green. I want to intensify that now and bring it all the way across into the crease, so I'm taking the shadow Fast Lane and I'm using a pencil brush to initially pat this along the lash line. I'm using the winged liner shape as a guide as to where to add my black. I'm then very carefully patting this down because I don't want any black fallout down onto my cheeks, and then again I'm gradually making my way into the crease. So once I've laid down the black, I'm using little circular motions to buff and fade the black out just so that it doesn't look so harsh, and then I'm switching to an angled brush and I've picked up some more of the black eyeshadow and I'm patting this along the crease line right into that inner corner to really intensify that edge. Then I'm picking up some more of the shade Nate on my fluffy blending brush and I'm adding this again into the crease so that we can still see that over the black. And then once I'm happy with that, I like to go back in with the black and reapply. And I also find flicking the brush upwards from that crease line helps to fade out the shadow. Handy little tip if you don't have a brush small enough to blend out your work in the crease. Now that I've finished blending shadow on the lid, I'm going to fill in that outline that I created earlier. So I'm literally just tracing over the outline with my liquid liner, and then Bob's your uncle. So I've chosen liquid. You can use gel, you can just fill in with the felt tip at this point if you wanted, but I like the liquid liner because it looks really intense. I'm adding some of the SoSu lashes in the style Greed from her 7 Deadly Sins collection, and now moving on to the lower lash line. So I'm beginning with Wake and Bake and applying that down along the lower lash line, making my way from outer to inner corner, and I'm just adding a couple of layers of this to make sure that it's really bright and vibrant. And now I'm picking up some of the shade Nate on my small brush as well and just smudging that down along there. I wanted the greens to be the focus of the look, but I wanted pops of pink and purple, which is why I went for the purple lip. Some pink on the lid, and now I'm using that wine liner in the waterline. Then I'm using some of the black on an angled brush and I'm patting that down along the lower lash line, right in at those lashes, and then I'm kind of pulling it down slightly, and then I'm going back in with my smudger brush and sweeping along the edges of the black to smoke it out. Finally then for the shadows, I'm taking Welcome because I went for an all matte look today, so I want just a little bit of sparkle, so I'm adding this around the tear duct to make that area really pop. Then I'm taking some mascara. This is the Hypnose mascara in the travel size, and I'm adding that to blend my own lashes in with the false ones, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I'll catch you all soon.